Hello guys, I'm the Guide Knight and welcome to part 12 of my Godot tutorial. This is a 2D platformer game where we operate this girl and we shoot kunai, or those small knives, to kill the robots. But currently the robots cannot kill us, regardless of what we do. We can even jump on their head and they cannot do anything about it. So in this episode, we're gonna make sure the robots can kill us and make those points in the upper left corner a little bit more meaningful. Because right now, I'm not afraid of anything. I can just go on and collect as much points as I like. So let's start. First, we need to open the player script. And here, we are gonna open the player script. And here, we are going to make sure that there is a check if the enemy or the robot has touched us, right? So I'm gonna add another function. I'm gonna call it check if touched by enemy. Okay, or if touched enemy, of course touched is with D, guys. Make sure you spell your method names correctly, otherwise nothing happens. No, just kidding. But technically, if you make a typo once and then you fix it, it won't be able to find the method because it's a different name. So maybe something will happen. Okay, so what we're gonna use here is this thing, get slide count. Get slide count, right? This is a method that is part of the kinematic body 2D. And what it does, it returns the number of times the body collided and changed direction during the last call to move and slide, or move and slide with snap, right? So we are going to get this slide count inside the player, and we are gonna initialize a variable called slide count equals to get slide count. Why do we need that? We want to see how many basically slides how many objects we touched, or on how many objects we slided, so to say, during the last move and slide, right? So we are gonna do a for loop. So basically we are iterating over a number I that is in range slide count. So this means from 0 to slide count. I think it's non-inclusive, this range, so from 0 to, if this is 1, it's only 0, and if this thing is 2, it's gonna be 0 and 1, and it's, yeah, for loop. You know how for loop works. If you don't, I guess I can show you later on in one of my planned Godot GDScript videos. Anyhow, a for loop. So we are gonna get the collision, which is gonna be retrieved by get slide collision, right? And it needs an index. And right now we're gonna pass in the index I, this index. And what it does is returns a kinematic collision to the object, which contains information about the collision that occurred during the last call to move and slide, or move and slide with snap. Since the body can collide several times a single call to move and slide, you must specify the index of collision in range 0 to get slide count -1. So this even the loop. Basically what we're doing, like for I in get slide count, we can even directly copy that and use it, but it doesn't really matter. What we're doing is basically the same. I can also probably do this, right? Make it a little bit simpler as in the example. And we're gonna get the collider. Because this thing returns kinematic collision 2D, and this thing has a collider, which is the object. And the collider object is the colliding body, right? We want to see basically with what we are colliding, right? We are the player because we are in the player GDScript. The kinematic body to this here is the player. And the player collides with different objects. And the collider, from the viewpoint of the player, is nothing else than the object we are bumping into, like the floor or the robot or whatever. So we're gonna get the collider. This is just collision dot collider, right? Because this thing has a collider, maybe it has a getter. Let me check if the collider has a getter. Get collider. I mean, we can use the get collider directly, use it. I'm gonna use the method, as I prefer methods. It's a little bit more explicit, I guess, and better practice. Because you can hide some abstractions underneath. If they change the collider, they can still retain the getter, and this will still work. Anyhow, so now we are checking if the collider is the correct type, right? We already have this thing called getMeta. I'm just gonna see where we're using it. Like, we're already checking that in one place. In that case, we have the object, and then we're checking the type of the object if this is equal to enemy. So we're gonna do exactly the same thing here. We're gonna do like collider dot get meta, and then we're gonna get the type again. And if this type is equal to enemy, then we are colliding with the enemy, right? So we're gonna check like if for now we're just gonna do a simple thing, and it's gonna be state equals dead. So we are killing basically the player, right? So if I do that, wait, I need to call it, of course. I constantly forget to call my new methods. I'm gonna call it before animate player inside the physics process method. So if I do it right now, I can kill it and I don't die. But if the robot is still alive, I am dying. But you notice it's not looking natural at all. First of all, I can still move and jump and maybe fire. And yeah, only the animation, and I cannot turn left. Only the animation is basically changing. And my points are also interactive, working, right? So we need to change that, right? I just want to kill one robot while I'm dead. This is like, come on, really. Yes. My mission is a complete success. So what we need to do is inside the physics process, we can simply check if the state equals dead, right? If the state is dead, then we can animate player and then return. Okay. And then in that case, I am going to check if touched enemy as the last thing we do. Then we're going to change the state, and the next time we're going to animate it once, and it will work. Maybe I won't be able to move. So, okay. Yeah, I'm not able to do anything, but the animation keeps on playing. So we can fix that quite easily. We go to the 2D view, we click on our animated sprite, and click on the dead animation. And then there is this loop checkbox. We just click it away, right? Now we can start again. And yeah, it is what it is, but we're not falling down, right? And that's kind of a problem, because we would like to still have some like velocity based on maybe current movement speed and basically step away from friction and so on. So what we can do is we can simply in all the cases where we have input dot something, we can add a function like and not that and that, or we can switch around the functions, maybe add a function here to apply, for instance, to move the player based on the velocity, right? And let's see what's in the just velocity. Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with the first option, like and state not equal dead, right? I'm gonna add this everywhere because why not? I can do it. So I have on floor glide. Okay, we'll not be able to glide when we're dead. And the last input is here. So maybe we don't need that now. So let me check if this helps fix our problem. Yeah, we fell on the ground and we cannot do anything, right? Make sure you don't miss any of your inputs. Otherwise, I mean, we can also do an action like for instance, action fire, and then make sure all actions are bound to the dead state, right? So just an example how it can work. I'm not gonna use it, but still, like action fire. Maybe I can use it. I don't know. So basically, I can say func action name, and then this will be returning the input as action just pressed, maybe action just pressed, and then the action name and state not equals that, and I'm gonna have another action pressed, and then I'm gonna have the action basically exactly the same, just I'm gonna remove the just pressed. So I'm gonna use here action just pressed fire, and in the other points I'm going to use here I'm gonna use action just pressed jump, right? And it's on floor. I'm gonna remove that check here. I mean, I'm just showing different ways how it can be done. You can pick one, I guess. I mean, I'm not sure if I like this one better. Maybe a little bit, because we don't have to worry about adding new inputs. Like if we add another input, we can just use the method we're declaring. I think there was one more. This is action just pressed. A jump. And yeah. So I'm binding basically all those things to the dead state of the player. So this should basically make absolutely no change in what we're doing. Just give me a second. Yeah, I can still not do anything right now. So that's cool. Let's continue now, right? What we want to do is that we basically, after a certain amount of time, we just don't want to like stay dead forever, right? We don't want to just be like that and yeah, forever. We just want to reset the game after a certain time, right? So we are going to add a timer. This is gonna be here inside the player scene. Open the player scene, click on the player, Control A to add a new node, and then we're gonna add a timer. And the timer is gonna be called reset timer. Because with this reset timer, we want to basically reset the whole thing, the scene, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and instantiate it here with a known ready variable reset timer. It's gonna be reset timer, right? And in my new function that I create, check if touched by enemy, I'm going to start the reset timer. And I'm gonna give it like 1 second. I want the whole thing to reset in 1 second, right? So we are now calling the reset timer. And what we need to do is we need to, if you remember correctly, we already used the timer, I think, somewhere. Maybe in the kunai. Yeah, there's the destroy timer. So if you remember correctly, this thing works with a signal and produce a timeout signal. So basically, we can connect this timeout signal by going to the reset timer, opening the node here on the right side, and then double clicking the timeout. And then we're going to connect it to the player object, or basically the player script, and we're going to call it on reset timer timeout. So connect. This basically connects it to the end of our script. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to use the get tree dot change scene, and I'm going to change the scene to my world, right? I can just find it like that from the suggestions, or I can open my world scene on the left here and drag and drop the world scene to the change scene, right? So right now we are killing the player. Here we're checking that the enemy is colliding with the player. we're setting the state of the player to dead, and after 1 second basically we are calling a timeout on the timer. This timeout is currently connected to this function, and this function changes the scene to the initial scene, to the world scene, so resets everything. So after 1 second, after we die, this should reset everything and start from the beginning. So yep, there we go. Seems to work. There is one more thing I would like to do, and that is add a small Easter egg, or, well, I call it debug, debug switch, and it's called immortality, right? And I'm gonna export. Let me see, do I have anything exported? Not here. So I'm gonna export a variable called immortal, and it's gonna be a boolean. So I'm gonna calling it false, right? And this immortal variable, we are going to check for it right here, right? If the collider is type enemy and not immortal, then we are setting the player to death and starting the timer. So let me try first without setting the immortality. Works. Now I'm going to go to our world scene, right? And opening the 2D editor, clicking on the player, and in the inspector tab, basically, yeah, on the right side, there's this immortal. And if I flip it like this checkbox, and I save, and I start the game, this should not, yeah, I shouldn't die anymore, right? So this is useful for debugging and when you want to test stuff, and yeah. But yeah, I think I broke something because my gliding is not working, right? So maybe as the last thing we're gonna do here, we're gonna check why the gliding is not working, right? Glide. Yep. This action just pressed. Maybe if I go with this to work. Yep. Yeah, I think I messed it up. And come on. This is a little bit also annoying that you cannot turn when you are like not changing your velocity. But I think we're done for now. Or maybe I can, I don't know. I don't want to open that Pandora's box, right? Let's see if there is an easy fix, we can try to fix it, restyle. And if there is not an easy fix, we will just admit defeat for now and then fix it next time. Or the next time, if I forget. Okay, so let's see, adjust velocity, move left is moving the acceleration. I want to see where we're flipping, like flip. Animated sprite, we're flipping if velocity is less than 0. I'm gonna check or action pressed. See, we're already using that. Move left, right? Or action press, move right. So basically inside the animate player, I am adding another check. Either if we're moving left with the velocity itself, or if we are pressing obsessively the left and right button. In that case, it should flip our sprite, right? And we are also in this thing, we are already checking for the dead state. So if we're dead, we should not be able to move, right? So let me first move here and wait for the robot. Yeah, I can turn. That's nice. And yeah, that seems to actually fix the problem. Sometimes problems are easy to fix. Sometimes not. This was one of those things that are actually easy to fix. Everything seems to be working. I don't find any additional bugs yet, so who knows. Anyhow, guys, I hope you did enjoy this episode. And if you did, please give me your thumbs up. That would help me greatly. And thank you all for subscribing recently. I have some new subscribers, which is really nice. Every time I see a new subscriber and you're like, I'm hyped up. As you know, I'm still a very small channel. But yeah, I hope you enjoy my tutorials. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to write or ask. And I'll try to do my best basically to answer. So that's it, guys. Stay safe, stay cool, stay awesome as I know you are. And Don't ever forget that you are awesome. I'm reminding you every episode, and I plan on keep doing that because you are awesome. And there is, well, there is nothing that people can do about it, right? Because you simply are. That's it. All right, guys. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.